Hello, my name is Metamela, and this is the Holographic Heartscape. I'm here in the park, and I just wanted to share this lovely spot with you today. This is one of my favorite spots to do Qigong because there's many geospirals in the earth right here, which means underground caverns of water. Um, we're not far from the Budweiser Brewery in the Benton Park area of St. Louis, and very close to Kawaki Mounds, which is an international treasure. Um, and so I thought I would start out with this first video. I've had a bit of a hard time starting videos because even though I will talk someone's ear off about the things that I channel and that I experience all day long to someone who's willing, I get a little self-conscious actually on camera. So it's just me getting used to the age of technology, I suppose. Um, but I will start by explaining to you, a lot of you have been wondering, what is the holographic heartscape? And the reason I came up with this word is simply because how our experience here so far on this planet as humans, we have fallen into a pattern of perceiving that has reinforced and in fact created our reality as a collective that is based on a dualistic system. And I actually brought a pair of holographic glasses, or 3D glasses, most people call them. You know, you wear them to these movies. I've actually never been to a 3D movie, believe it or not, but this reality to me is the 3D movie. So that gives you kind of my idea. But duality perspective derives from the part of us that is source energy, which is God, and the part of us that is in the absence of source energy or is not. And I'm going to go into this a little bit more as we continue the series, and to how that actually happened and why. But just to start, this is a good visual reminder of duality, because it is also what frames our mindset of what we perceive as good or bad, good or evil. And so this is the perspective that creates everything around us. But the dualism is a lot of times what perpetuates our suffering. So there's a lot of ways we can look into what is duality. There's a lot of different perspectives. There's a lot of different teachers out there that talk about duality and what that is. And then there's also a lot of new spiritual teachers out there right now that are talking about unity reality, which is sort of merging this dualistic experience, meaning we have the power to choose our experience. And that doesn't just mean you have the power to choose this versus that in terms of like choosing this ice cream flavor over this one. It's more like, let's think of a good example. It's more like when you have what you might, or most humans would perceive as a negative experience, like dropping your ice cream cone on the ground, that you choose to ground that event or that experience through your heart space, and you choose how you will experience that. And instead of just reacting to it, you realize your power to perceive it the way that you wish and recognize it from different perspectives. Now, a lot of us fall into a struggle pattern, And this is because we have pretty much everyone on the planet has events from their childhood or their past, even adulthood experiences that have traumatized us. Essentially, in that moment, what has happened is that our brain was not able to process the event in a way that kept us whole. Like, essentially, we dissociated from a part of ourselves. And I can go more into that in depth as well. I've written several blogs already about the shadow self and what that means, what are inner children, and essentially it forms a pattern of dissonance in our lives where we continue to take that past experience, usually from a child self, and we continue to throw that experience into our future. We continue to manifest experiences into our current reality based on that experience. And I see a lot of people really hard on themselves with their inner critic, really casting blame on themselves and being hard on themselves for this. But it's really about understanding that everything is unconditional love. Even when we perceive that we feel we've made a mistake, even when we do something that we're like, I don't like that I do that, and we form a resistance with ourselves. I'm someone who chose to come into the duality experience to experience the absence of my power. This is one of my first human incarnations in a very, very, very long time. My last human incarnation that I'm aware of was actually Enoch. And so this has been a very challenging experience for me, as it all has been for you. But I wanted to come and have that experience because I cared about the human struggle, and I cared to see humans evolve in a way that they would be able to reach their potential. So I felt that in order for me to demonstrate this for humans, I wanted to do something, I guess you could say it's a little bit similar to what other ascended masters have done when they came here to live a life, such as Jesus or Buddha or something of the like. But it ended up being quite a bit harder than I thought it would be. And so here I am. I am working on being a little bit less shy and learning how to use this person as an instrument in order to share with you the insights that I am able to offer in reconciling this perspective of struggle into unityscape. A lot of teachers now are out there calling, I don't know about a lot of teachers, but there are a few, talking about the fifth dimension and how we as humans are shifting into this dimensional perspective, at least many of us. And so this is based on an inner experience of relationship to self and self-awareness. And what it is, it's going through the process of integration where you are learning how to distinguish the difference between aligning with the higher self frequency, which is the part of you that never left source, and also the lower self energy, which enables us to contrast from that source. Now, let me clarify that that does not make contrast or the lower self bad. In fact, it is a source for infinite creativity, which is why we developed this technology. So you'll never hear me talking about something from a fear-based perspective, or something that I will perceive as negative. It is all based on a series of choices that we have made in order to explore our reality. But what I want to really help us learn is how to own this process of resonance, which is aligning with our higher self, with source energy, which is source flow. If you can imagine a tree, and that humans are the leaves on this tree, perceiving ourselves as separate individuals. And when actually we are all these leaves that are attached to a tree, and we are all a tree together. So is the human species. We are Mother Earth's children. And so we are extensions of Gaia, and we are extensions of Father Source. So when we contrast ourselves from Source, it would be akin to a leaf closing itself off to its life force, which is the sun, and relationship with the tree as well, and the water, and all the processes that are involved with the tree, and then closing itself off. And what happens to the leaf eventually is that it falls to the ground and it dies, and then it is recycled into the earth. That's also what happens with us. So when we contrast our alignment, that is the beginning of the experience of what we consider to be dying. This is a normal part of our experience here on this planet at this time. It is not a bad thing. It is all in the pursuit of exploration. However, we are entering a time where humans are choosing to be able to perceive how we are going to receive an experience. We will be more aware of the power we have of whether to contrast or to align. So they are similar to, that's why I actually chose to sit right here, so you could kind of compare. It's like a 45-degree angle. These angles of options actually form these what are called scalar planes around us in our fields at all times. And it forms all of our probabilities. That is why if you go to a really good healer, shaman, or psychic of any sort, that if they are carriers of the light, then they will tell you, I don't do future timelines. The reason is because to tell someone their future timeline is actually manifesting their future for them. We are a free will universe. And in my past of who I am as Metatron, I wanted to make sure that this would be the case. I wanted this to be a free will universe because I felt that it would be in the best interest for this time, or for this place, for this frontier of exploration. And so what that means is that as we are constantly asserting our preferences, it lights up these scalar planes around us, which actually, in effect, in a series, and another dimensional standpoint, is what creates our tendencies in our life. So it's why tomorrow I'm probably not going to take a plane to Turkey, because I have not actually activated a series of beliefs and choices and preferences which would align me vibrationally to that as a probability. Now, it does not mean that someone will not call me tomorrow and say, "Hey, Mela, you want to come with me to Turkey?" And I'd be like, "Heck yeah, let's go to Turkey." It could happen still, but the probabilities are not high. And there are all kinds of ways of looking at this reality. People come up with different names. I don't know if you've ever watched Andrew Bartzis with the Galactic Historian, but he has a lot of really creative ways of explaining all of these things as well. I do really enjoy listening to him as a result. But I wanted to just give you at least an introduction video of explaining to you why I created this channel and as well as my Facebook forum. Basically because I see a lot of really excellent teachings coming out these days. Some of the teachers that I also appreciate especially are Teal Swan, Drunvalo Melchizedek, Pamela Arlen, and I've heard some really good things about Matt Kahn. I know that a lot of people really enjoy him right now. Abraham Hicks. There's many, many more out there who are doing really wonderful things, and you will actually never hear me blatantly try to contradict someone's teaching, because to me it is important that we recognize that just as, and you can look at this statue, all of us in the world gather around this statue and look at it from the different sides, we're going to see different things about the statue. Some of those statements might seem to even contradict each other. Now, once you're beginning to learn how to utilize your channels into your own personal spiritual truth of what feels resonant to you, which is what I want to teach and share with you, you're going to start noticing that any plausible way of observing reality is going to include paradox. That means that they mutually exclusive truths simply don't exist. This may be confusing for a lot of you, so I'm going to work really hard at breaking that down. It is not your fault if that's difficult for you to understand, because we live in a reality that teaches you that the sky is blue, that teaches you that you are a boy or a girl, that teaches you you either own something or you don't own it, that you must work a job for the man in order to survive, that you must beat yourself up in order to get better. These are the kinds of mutually exclusive statements in this world that creates duality thinking that I want to help you reconcile, to alter limiting beliefs that prevent you from finding that path of resonance in your life that holds you back from being the conscious creator, the sovereign conscious creator that I know that you are all meant to be. So, with that said, I wanted to also talk a little bit more about the Heartscape and what I mean by that. The most advanced piece of technological equipment in your body, well, your entire body is technologically advanced. Your cells, everything in you is intelligent. However, there is one piece of equipment that I wanted to point out to you that in our society gets often overlooked. It is your heart. Now, in the womb, the heart begins to beat before the brain even forms. And that is because there's a little tiny piece of the heart that actually has a material that's similar to brain cells. That's what causes your heartbeat to start when you are first in the womb. And in addition to that, there is plenty of mass in the brain cortex that does not get utilized currently in our evolutionary construct and our development of how we are evolved at this time. Now, as we learn to drop more into our heart space, meaning live through the heart actively by choice, we are going to see a beginning of a massive awakenment. We have already begun to see this. Many people are choosing to awaken all over the world to recognize that spirituality is not a mutually exclusive truth. That is why we chose to be individuals, so that we could contribute to source perspective and creating our reality of that source perspective. So your heart is actually the finest piece of equipment in ascension, and in your activation process. So I am going to be sharing a number of meditations as well as activation processes to also help you learn how to start living more and more intuitively and through your heart space. And so with that, it concludes my very first video for all of you. I love you very, very much, and I love you all unconditionally. I want to teach you a brand new word. It is very similar to Namaste, only it makes an interdimensional pattern in the figure 8, like the snake of infinity. It is a word that I bring to you from the Elohim, and it is Damishe. Again, that's Damishe, and the A and the E actually form this infinity symbol that is going from my core, which is the center of our figure 8 of the upper and lower torsions of our electromagnetic energy field, to your center core of your field. And it is seeing the source and the light and the beauty in you all the way to our source, and then back down to this present experience, and appreciating one another's beauty and what we have to offer. So it is very similar to Namaste. So thank you again for joining us at the Holographic Heartscape. Namaste and Damishe.